Hello, everybody. My name is Pierre Carret. I'm the Grant Director for the Mediterranean Basin for CEPF. And it's a great pleasure to welcome you today for this session. It's going to be a brief session, and it's also an opportunity for us to see some faces, some people we know for a long time, some new faces as well, and to have also a time for sharing. This presentation will be divided in three parts. We'll have a few presentations to give you an overview of CEPF and what we have been doing in the last few years on the Mediterranean Basin, and then we'll give the floor to some of our dear grantees who are actually implementing the work and doing the conservation on the ground. And we have also the great honor today to have with us Olivier Langrand, with the Executive Director of CEPF. And I would like to invite Olivier to come and say a few words on behalf of CEPF. Thank you, Olivier.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Olivier Langrand. I'm the Executive Director of CEPF, the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund. So you're all very familiar with CEPF, I guess, as far as the Mediterranean is concerned. Just wanted to put it back in a broader context. So the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund was created 20 years ago. As a result, it's a joint initiative of 6 global donors. Conservation International, so an NGO based out of the US, and then the World Bank, the GEF, the French government through the Agence Française de Développement, the Japanese government, and the European Union. But in the case of the Mediterranean, we also have the pleasure to have funding from MAVA Foundation that has been topping up, what we have been putting from these global donors. Globally, we have been involved only in the biodiversity hotspot of the planet. There are 36 that are recognized, 29 are eligible to the fund, and we have so far invested in 25 of them. And we have granted globally to 2,500 civil society organizations $263 million. So as you see, 20 years of involvement worldwide in 113 countries. So now we have been here in the Mediterranean 10 years. We know that there is more work to be done, in this hotspot. So we are committed to continue working with civil society in this region. Pierre will give you the details of where we are and where we are going. But you can be sure that CEPF will continue getting involved with supporting civil society in this very important hotspot. And with Pierre here, you have the best ambassador of all you have, at CEPF. Obviously, we're all competing for resources, so it's important to have a strong voice. And Pierre has a strong voice for you, but he has a strong voice because the project you have been implementing have been very successful. The communication about the results and the success in conservation have been excellent. So keep the good work going, in the different regions. Because it makes our life easier when we look for additional funding for the region. With that, we would like to thank you very, very much for your presence tonight. And I'm going to give the mic back to Pierre. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier. So, in order to give more time for the grantees to speak at the end of this presentation, we have only a few slides that we want to present, starting with how it all started in the Mediterranean Basin. And some of you here were already contributing in 2009, 2010 to the ecosystem profile. Every time CEPF invests in a hotspot, we start with a strategic document reviewing at the same time the state of the biodiversity, but also the state of civil society, the needs of civil society, the socio-economic aspects in the region, to look more precisely at the threats to biodiversity in the hotspot and design a strategy. And this takes place for the first time in 2010, 2011, just before we started the investment, of course. And it was also revisited 4 years ago. And in the last, for this second investment phase, starting in 2017, we have five main strategy directions. And the people in this assistance represent all these different aspects of conservation of biodiversity in the Mediterranean hotspot. So we have a specific focus on coastal zone management. We also pay a lot of attention on fresh water, which is a key element in the Mediterranean Basin and under big threats also due to climate change, as you know. We do work also to support projects to preserve biodiversity in the cultural landscapes of the Mediterranean Basin, which is a very specific hotspot where nature and humanity have co-evolved for many centuries, millenniums. And now some very important elements of biodiversity are in relation with cultural and agricultural habits. In the last 3 years, for this second phase of investment, we also opened a specific window of opportunity for plant conservation, which was for a long time a bit like the forgotten element for conservation in the region, although the hotspot of the Mediterranean Basin is a hotspot mostly for plants with more than 25,000 species of plants endemic to the hotspot. And of course, the fifth strategic direction is to work on capacity building so as to get a stronger and stronger voice for the conservation of biodiversity thanks to stronger civil society organizations. So during this phase of investment starting in 2017, we have supported actions in 13 countries ranging from Cape Verde. Yes, for CEPF, Cape Verde is a part of the Mediterranean Basin hotspots. It's always surprising, but it's a part of a biogeographical continuity. We have so far invested $9.8 million with 134 grants, so 134 projects, which is a lot. 81 small grants, 53 large grants. Currently, your organizations are working in 73 key biodiversity areas. And what I'm also very proud of is the number of grants awarded to local organizations. In the Mediterranean Basin, 92% of the grants are awarded to local organizations, national organizations. And in the rare cases where we support a larger organization, it's for these organizations to work in partnership with the local organization in any case. And that's really something that we have very deeply in mind. I will now just give very briefly how our investment is split among the different sub-regions, and you will see that we have a pretty balanced portfolio with North Africa leading the way, but with very large countries, and the Balkans and the Middle East with only 3 eligible countries. So that's the reason why it's also lower than the other 2. And this is just to present the investment in terms of the different strategy direction that I just presented before. And you can see that our main investment so far is on coastal zone with a bit more than $3 million, followed by the cultural landscape and then the freshwater biodiversity. And finally, the plant conservation with a $1.5 million of investment. Initially, we had only expected to have $750,000 of investment on plants. So there's big appetite in the region for this strategy direction. Just to let you know that we have a project map where you can see the different projects and sort them and filter the different projects. The URL is provided here, and it will be also shared on our social media and other newsletters and communication tools. Just a few highlights of the most recent development of the CEPF investment in the region. First, I'm very glad to say that we have been allowed by our donors last year to start the investment in Palestine. And we now have 5 projects in Palestine, which is very important for this part of the Mediterranean Basin. And we also have the endorsement for Egypt, even if it's very difficult to work with Egypt currently and to support civil society in Egypt, but we have the first project that was signed this year. We have launched 20 calls for proposal. We have received 553 concept notes. So please feel lucky or feel proud if you have been selected, because there's a lot of competition these days with CEPF in the region. I'm also very personally proud of my team to say that every organization applying to CEPF receives a letter explaining why they have not been selected, if they have not been selected. And when the organization is selected, then we launch a 6-month process to help the organization design the projects. We also start to have more collaboration with some of our donors. We have launched 2 calls for proposal jointly with the Prespa Nature Trusts, and it was successful. And you know that for us donors, it's very difficult to launch joint calls for proposal for many different reasons, among which the administrative reasons. And but when there's a will, we can find a way, and we managed to have this joint call for proposal, which I hope will be followed by others. And in Cape Verde, there's also a Biodiversity Donor Roundtable, which is now progressing, and we can tell you a bit more about that. But it's the same idea to have a collaborative approach between donors to have better support to the civil society organization. And with this, I will give the floor to Awatef so that she can explain a bit more the role of the regional implementation team.
Thank you, Pierre. So all the implementation that Pierre mentioned cannot happen without all this mosaic of organization. We have our donor, CEPF Secretariat, presented here by Olivier Langrand, our director, and Pierre Carret, our grant director, and the regional implementation team, which here myself and my colleague Aurélien, show yourself, for myself for North Africa and Aurélien for Cape Verde are representing the regional implementation team, and of course local CSOs, universities, private sector, which are all CEPF grantees. I'm here specifically to shed the light on the role of the regional implementation team as the team to ensure the implementation of CEPF strategy. And this team is composed of 11 members here, as you see in the photos. We were very happy to have the opportunity to see each other this year after 2 years. And the role of this of the regional implementation team is to help you guys to write your proposal, to then follow the process, and after the selection to follow the implementation of your project. The regional implementation team do continuous support for the organization, as you know, and work to scale up the organization, do training, peer-to-peer training, or learning by doing according to the situation. So thank you so much for your amazing work and to help us leading on this program. I give the floor to you.
Thank you, Awatef, and thanks for the huge work that the regional implementation team is providing to support all the partners on the ground. Now, I mean, we have tried to be very brief to give more time for our grantees. We have a selection of grantees here that I will ask to come here with me and to give a few words about their project and also their relationship with CEPF. And let's start with Notre Grand Bleu. So I don't know who from Notre Grand Bleu is coming here on stage. Is it you, Ahmed? Oh, it's Ahmed, actually. But not the same one.
En français, s'il vous plaît, je n'ai pas écouté. Je parle en français.
En anglais, tu peux pas?
Non, c'est
En français, je vais faire la traduction.
D'accord, on parle sur le financement du CEPF, c'est ça notre expérience. Alors, ça va, c'est pas grave. Bonjour tout le monde, je suis Ahmed Souki, le président de l'association Notre Grand Bleu. Cette association a été créée en 2012. Elle est basée à Monastir, 160 km de Tunis.
So hello everybody, I'm Ahmed, I'm the president of Notre Grand Bleu Association based in Monastir and created in 2012.
Ok. À la base, les membres fondateurs de l'association, y compris moi, Ahmed et Manel, nous sommes des plongeurs. Ça a commencé par la patience de plonger sous-marine. Et après, on a créé l'association juste après la Révolution, là où il y a la liberté d'expression et la liberté de travail, la société civile, sans dépêchement politique.
Thank you. It all started with a group of enthusiastic divers. We were together and we were very keen on diving, and we decided to set up an organization after the revolution in Tunisia, when the regulations and laws made it possible for society to thrive.
On a de la chance de travailler avec les CEPF parce qu'une jeune association de 4 ans, ça a commencé en 2015. C'est une association jeune de 3 ans. Ça commence avec des petites actions. Mais ils ont apprécié et convaincu le CEPF. C'est pas si facile d'avoir un financement. Une association que 3 ans. Ils ont nous donné confiance. Et ça a commencé en 2015 dans un projet sur 3 axes principaux.
We feel very lucky for the support of CEPF. We were a very young organization with only very few local activities. We were 3-year-old, and we were given the opportunity to apply to CEPF for a project which started in 2015 with 3 different axes.
On a eu l'appui des conservatoires de littoral qui nous a appuyé, le programme PIM, qui a appuyé l'association pour avoir le premier financement. Et ça a commencé sur 3 axes. C'est l'éradication du rat noir sur les îles Curiates. C'est la plus grande action sur 340 hectares. On est envahi par le rat noir. C'est le premier axe.
So we were supported by the PIM, a program of Conservatoire du Littoral in France, to apply to CEPF funding. And the first activities we've been doing was the eradication of the black rat on the Koyat Island, an island of 340 hectares. And it was successful.
Le deuxième, c'est le renforcement de capacité de l'association, parce qu'on est tous, on a des scientifiques, on a essayé d'impliquer tous les étudiants dans le cadre des projets, là où il y en a une intersection entre les activités, les critères des projets et les PFE, les masters et le test des étudiants. On a reçu jusqu'à maintenant, on a plus qu'une vingtaine de sujets qui ont été faits sur l'île.
So the second part was really strengthening our capacities. We were really in need of capacity support, and with the support of CEPF, we started to train and host students from masters and thesis, and they have worked on more than 20 different topics on the Koyat Island area.
Et l'axe numéro 3, c'est la gestion intégrée entre la société civile, c'est une première en Tunisie, et l'APAL, l'Agence nationale de protection des littorales. C'est une première en Tunisie qui est assurée par les réunions de concertation, par les réunions avec les différentes parties prenantes et la création des comités régionaux de futures aires marines protégées Curiates.
And the third action was to set up a co-management practices with the National Coastal Agency of Tunisia. And it was the first time in Tunisia that a protected area was co-managed by a civil society with the local authorities.
Ce qui est bien de travailler avec les CEPF, ils sont sérieux, mais à la fois ils sont souples d'une façon d'essayer lorsqu'on on a eu de financement d'autres bailleurs de fonds, ils essayent de faire la complémentarité et d'essayer de se compléter et d'assurer les objectifs sur les sites. Et ça a recommencé avec les CPF avec un deuxième projet d'assurer la pérennité de l'association Notre Grand Bleu et le suivi des critères. Et je cite bon, après.
What we appreciated with CEPF was the fact that they were both serious in terms of the monitoring, but at the same time they had flexibility and allow us to adapt the project over the years. And now we have a second project with CEPF that started a few years ago. Et je suis désolé, je vais te demander qu'on arrête là parce qu'on a 5 à faire passer. Donc,
juste
voilà.
Je cite l'exemple, par exemple, on était financé pour la création d'un sentier sous-marin et dans le même financement des kayaks pour qu'on assure la protection des semi-dossés. Et maintenant, on est en train de créer un parcours terrestre sur les sites. Et je remercie les CEPF pour cette occasion. Je vous remercie à la fois et merci.
And so Hamed was explaining the very last activities of the project with the creation of a submarine trail and as well as new terrestrial trails on the islands. Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Hamed.
Thank you.
And without further ado, Blandine, if you want to join us and give a few words for Biosfera.
I have to put nothing.
Yes, it's better, but if you have them, it's okay. All right.
Okay. Nice to meet you. I'm Blandine Melis. I'm sorry, but I prefer to be there. I'm the executive director of Biosfera in Cape Verde, so we are really proud to be a part of Mediterranean region. And my friend Albert from Sal Biodiversity in Cape Verde is here also. So I just want to share with you a few words about our experience with CEPF. It was really interesting at the beginning because Biosfera was created in 2026. And we want to conserve and we want to protect biodiversity. But in Cape Verde and Santa Lucia Island, for example, we didn't have any baseline. We didn't have any scientific evidence to show how it's important to protect our biodiversity. And it was a good opportunity because CEPF accepts to support Biosfera to develop some different studies, scientific studies, in order to prove how it's important to protect marine and coastal diversity. So it was between 2013 and 2015. And after that, it was really, really great for us because we are able to show by scientific data how it's important to conserve. Biosfera is not a scientific institution. We are really focused on conservation. But by the way, and by the fact that CEPF supported us, we are able to work after that in conservation. It was our first experience. The second one was in 2019, I think so. It was really important also because we have some artisanal fisheries in Cape Verde, and Biosfera was thinking about the fact that we have to certificate this kind of fishery, artisanal one, and we spoke with the CEPF in order to present something new in Cape Verde, how we are able to certificate at different level of the fishery, market, fish market, hotel, and the consumer at the end, how to try to have a virtual cycle for this certification. And CEPF accepted to support us for that. This project began in 2019, and we will continue with the second step And now we work more with, at the beginning it was really for to improve local fishery at the restaurants, and we involve also tourists in this way. But with the COVID crisis, we decided to move a little bit this project and to be more focused on the Capo Verdean civil society. And it was really great because CEPF accept to move the project during the project. Sometimes it's not the case with donors. So this is our experience, really different experience. One's about research and conservation, and the other one more with fishery, local fisheries. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Blandine. And I think it's the first time we hear about a project in Cape Verde on this Mediterranean Solution Pavilion. So it's nice to also have this view from another island. And I would like now to cross the Atlantic Ocean, and I will ask Mohamed Hamezi from Rezing in Morocco to give a few words about their project on freshwater.
Merci Pierre. Je suis un ardent défenseur de la francophonie. Donc si,
Va falloir aller vite, alors.
si tu peux, non mais mon anglais n'est pas très. Merci beaucoup pour cette invitation. C'est un plaisir donc de participer avec vous, surtout que le CEPF a fait un grand bond au niveau de la Méditerranée et au niveau du Maroc. Surtout qu'il a compris qu'au niveau du profil écosystémique qui a été élaboré, il y avait beaucoup d'aires clés de biodiversité au niveau du Maroc.
I thank CEPF for investing in Morocco, and in particular with the last profile from 2017. There's been a great effort on identifying important key biodiversity areas, including freshwater, in Morocco.
Alors, je vous propose, c'est un exemple entre un office privé, c'est un bureau d'études privé et l'association avec l'université qui ont mené donc ce projet sur une grande rivière au niveau du Maroc, la rivière Morbi', surtout un affluent particulier où il y a une biodiversité au niveau de la stratégie numéro 2, où il y a une biodiversité aquatique très très importante, endémique et très menacée.
Our project is special in the sense it's a combination of or partnership between a university and a private sector enterprise, a consultancy, and we work on the freshwater biodiversity of a large river, Oumerbia, in Morocco, which is very important for the freshwater biodiversity.
Ce qu'on salue au niveau donc de certains de ces projets de CEPF, c'est qu'ils permettent aussi un diagnostic, donc une réactualisation des données. Et ça, c'est très intéressant de réactualiser les données sur les espèces. Parce que quand il y a une méconnaissance de certaines espèces, et on redécouvre certaines espèces. Il y a même des espèces qu'on appelle jumelles, qui ont été regroupées dans un seul nom, alors que grâce à ces projets-là, on arrive à avoir donc un listing beaucoup plus intéressant.
It's interesting with this project supported by CEPF, we are allowed to start with a scientific work and with inventories, allowing also to have baselines for designing future conservation action. For instance, on freshwater biodiversity, some species hadn't been seen for decades and were rediscovered, and sometimes we also find twin species that look similar and were initially grouped as one, and actually there are two different species, and this kind of data is very important for conservation action.
Le cas particulier qu'on étudie actuellement avec le CEPF, c'est une moule, une grande moule d'eau douce en danger critique d'extinction et qui a été justement mélangée avec l'espèce européenne. Mais après donc des études poussées, ça a été séparé de l'espèce européenne. De ce fait, donc, il a été reclassé maintenant par le UCN en danger critique d'extinction.
In our specific project, we work specifically on a freshwater mussel which for a long time had been considered as being part of the same species as the European freshwater mussel, but it was not the same species. And it's now reconsidered by IUCN and critically endangered in Morocco.
L'intérêt de ces projets aussi, c'est qu'ils mettent aussi, ils impliquent des jeunes chercheurs au niveau des masters et au niveau des doctorats et qui prennent donc l'implication dans ces projets au niveau du diagnostic, au niveau de la conduction des projets, au niveau de la gestion des projets, au niveau de la sensibilisation auprès du grand public. Donc l'implication des jeunes chercheurs, c'est aussi un excellent point très très important qui est soutenu par le CPF dans le cadre de notre projet.
And what is also important with this project is that it helps the training of a young researcher, a new generation of researchers in Morocco who are involved not only in research but also for sensitization, for working with community and take a lot of different action on the ground. And it builds their capacity for the future as well.
Ok, donc je tiens à remercier toute l'équipe méditerranéenne donc, du CEPF parce qu'il y a tout un accompagnement au niveau du montage, au niveau du suivi, au niveau de la révision des projets et surtout au niveau de l'évaluation. Je les salue, c'est le moment de les saluer parce que je viens de les rencontrer. Merci beaucoup pour votre attention.
Thank you. Merci,
Merci Pierre.
So Mohammed was saying at the end that he wanted to thank CPF, basically. Well, we'll stop with that. And now let's cross the Mediterranean Sea from Morocco, and I would like to ask. No, I will ask Genti to start, if you don't mind, Nizar. So Genti comes from Albania. He's one of the rare people from the Balkans who made it to the Congress, and he will speak about.
Well, you make me feel endangered when you say rare. Thank you, Pierre, for this opportunity, and thank you to CPF for supporting our conservation efforts in Albania for many years now. I think it's 9 years. You have supported us in working in this key biodiversity area of Albania, which is the Vlora Bay and surrounding areas, which encompass a lot of diverse ecosystems, starting from mountains high as 2,000 meters, going down to Posidonia meadows under the sea. Over the years, through your support, we have been able to build knowledge, learn more about key biodiversity elements, being those species or habitats. And we have used that knowledge to work with various stakeholders. We have worked with protected area managers to build action plans for the management of these biodiversity elements, important biodiversity elements. We have worked with users, being those tour operators or shepherds grazing their animals in the area, informing them about the importance of these biodiversity and what they can do, how they can manage their business better in order to provide for both preservation of these species and their economic activity. We have done a lot of awareness raising and education activities, starting with school children, trying to help them learn more about their nature next door to their parks and protected areas. And we also worked with students of universities, trying to build summer camps when they can expand their knowledge about nature. So this is all thanks to CPF, but this is not the only one support CPF is giving, so financing is not the only one. Through the years, we have also learned, build our own capacities as INCA, as an NGO, to better manage projects, to better develop projects, to better manage funds, and also to contribute to other initiatives both in Albania and regional in the Balkans on conservation efforts. So thank you again, CPF.
Thank you, Genti. And now we'll end up with the far east of the Mediterranean Basin, and Nizar coming from the mountains of Al Shuf in Lebanon. Thank you, Nizar.
Thank you, Pierre. Let me come back a little bit more than this phase. The history of with CEPF, with the Shuf Biosphere Reserve started in 2012, 2013, when we were learning about CEPF and how to go into this process. At that time, one of the activities that we did with the project was the economic value assessment, if you remember, Pierre, at that time. And really that guides the whole work after this phase, because the mentality of the work at that time was a bit different. When we focused a little bit more on the ecosystem services, there was a focus after that, how can we improve the ecosystem services? How can we increase the income of the local communities that are living in the surrounding area of the reserve? After that, and this is a message, you asked me to send some messages for the people who are interested in the CEPF. We applied again, but we didn't succeed. Maybe at that time we didn't read and we didn't understand the guidance of the CEPF at that time. The message here for the partners and the CSOs and the NGOs, don't be upset if an application is not accepted with the CEPF. Let's try again, let's look at the guidance in a careful way. Let's communicate with the team. Really, the whole CEPF team are very cooperative. In our region, we have Sharif in North Africa, there is Awatef, and for sure we can come back to Pierre and Olivier at any time. After that, and the importance of this partnership with CEPF, we are practitioners. We did some good job with the cultural landscape management through MAVA network, and sure you heard about MAVA and the whole work that we did in the Mediterranean region. CEPF involved us in the assessment of this current phase. We work to assess the cultural practices and that complex relationship with the biodiversity conservation. We tried through different tools, questionnaire, brainstormings, stakeholder analysis, and all that stuff to come up with a good assessment, CEPF with other partners for sure, from Jordan, from Tunisia, based this phase of the CEPF applications on that assessment. And for us, this is an important progress of the work, and this is a privilege as an implementer of or grantee of CEPF, involving in the planning of the CEPF next phases. Currently, as well, we involved other partners, Oikos Institute from Italy and another biosphere reserve, in addition to the Shuf Biosphere Reserve, the Jabal Musa Biosphere Reserve, is to transfer some of the knowledge that we learned in the cultural practices, mainly the old abandoned terraces, and how to monitor the impact of the cultural practices on biodiversity, to another biosphere reserve in Lebanon. And always the component of livelihood and improving the income of the local communities and the local farmers is there. We will support the local farmer markets in the Shuf area as well as in Jabal Musa, and we will do a lot of capacity building for farmers, women, beekeepers, and all those cultural practitioners in the both protected areas. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Olivier. Thank you, Awatef, as well, Sharif in our region, really for your full support to the grantees. We don't feel that there is a donor and a grantee. We feel that we are one team, always you are available. We communicate all this information and we build the application together. So I encourage everyone to be patient and to apply to the CEPF coming calls, and the most important is to implement the activities in a very high quality way to be able to measure the impact of the whole program in the whole Mediterranean region, mainly our side of the Mediterranean. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mizer. Thanks for the kind words as well. And you know, sometimes in life you have miracles. And today is a real miracle, because organizing a session with so many speakers, and it's now 5:59 and we'll be perfectly on time, which I didn't expect it. It's a true miracle, all the more when I know most of the people who have talked token today and I know they can talk for hours on their projects, for hours and for days even, because they all have this passion. We all have this passion, and I think this is really the fuel for conservation in the region. And I would just encourage everybody to keep this good energy and to continue this work in the coming years, to ensure that we preserve the fantastic natural heritage of the Mediterranean Basin. And we have now to close this session. We'll have more time later on to discuss, but we are now kicked out of the stand, but we can continue the discussion together, and I hope to see you on the Congress later on.
Juste une petite annonce, Pierre, si tu peux la traduire. Nous avons découvert des nouvelles espèces grâce à ce projet de CEPF, et l'une des espèces va porter le nom de CEPF.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mohamed. So Mohamed was just announcing that through the project in Morocco, they discovered new species, and they will give the name of CEPF to this new species. So it's a great announcement, and it's also a demonstration of the passion I was speaking about just before. Thank you, Mohamed. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah? There you go. So hello, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much for being with us today. Before I get any farther on this, we're going to talk today about the outcome action plans of MAVA. But before just getting into the theme, I will introduce myself. I'm Mercedes Muñoz Cañas. I work for the Center for Mediterranean Cooperation. And I will be with Luis, who's presenting himself now. And then afterwards, we'll say more about this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mercedes. And I am introducing myself, Luis Costa, working in the Mediterranean program of the MAVA Foundation. So we have in this session talking about our outcome action plans, our strategic partnerships for the final stages of the MAVA Foundation. But before going into the program that you have in the agenda that will show up very soon, I will pass the word and floor to Andre Hoffman, the president of the board of MAVA, to introduce the session and to give his first speech.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Louis. So, first of all, you're all far enough. I'm going to take my mask off. Yeah. So it's very nice to be here today. 27-year MAVA, 27-year MAVA, and it is stopping. Mediterranean outcome action plan has been prepared in order to maximize the last time of MAVA and the last time of MAVA in the Mediterranean. This is a family foundation. I'm doing this because I inherited it from my father. My father himself was one of the moving spirits of the Mediterranean thinking, of conservation in the Mediterranean, of conservation in the broader sense, not against men, but with men. And when I say men, I mean humans, of course. I don't mean the opposite of women. It's an incredibly emotional moment. And I have to be absolutely frank. I have a deep thought for my father today. I have a great recognition for my sisters for having been, not recognition, but great gratitude, sorry, for my sisters for having been with us for such a long time. And I have a huge flood of memories that come. The Mediterranean was the origin of all that. My father, coming down from the Swiss mountains, getting to the shore of the Mediterranean, finding the Camargue, the mosquitoes, the flamingos, the birds, and deciding to make his life there. Marrying somebody from the north, having then 4 children in the Camargue where we all grew up. This is a historic moment to close something down. So there are a couple of history I could tell you. I mean, at the age of 6, we were allowed to go and catch the ducks to ring them so that we could study bird migration. At the age of 14, my father took me to Mauritania, to the Banc d'Arguin, so that we can go and see the spoonbills, which at the time didn't nest in the Camargue. At the age of 18, I used to go around the Mediterranean Basin with a car from Tour du Vala, counting flamingos with the late Alan Johnson. I have stories that could fill a couple of cabinets, and I hope to be able to write them down at some stage. But what I really wanted to take as an opportunity today, and I hope you can hear what I'm saying because I cannot see anything really physical, is to tell you that all this has been an amazing success. thanks to all you, the historical partners, thanks to all you, the new partners, thanks to all you participants in the Outcome Action Plan, we are not leaving a region that is in as much in trouble as it could have been. We have made a difference. And that difference, for me, in the long term, is the congregation of talent, the congregation of I want to say of lives who have been sort of coming close to what Sturduvala and my father originated and what became the MAVA Mediterranean Plan. So now you are going to go through the details of what's happened over the last couple of years. You're going to look at what's going to happen after our closure. But before you do this, I just wanted to express very, very simply and very humbly my absolute gratitude. Thank you to all of you to have been such active participants into this program, and I'm very much looking forward to be able to continue to stay in touch with some of you, to continue to see the work that was initiated so long ago, and the work that is going to still make a difference to the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is the cradle of the Western world. This is where it all started. If we cannot create a sustainable long-term future within the Mediterranean Basin, I don't know where else we could. It is a hotspot. It's dangerous. It is full of things that are dangerous. I mean, we are on the edge. But if you want to flip it on the right way, we're going to have to do it in the Mediterranean. So all of you, you have a responsibility collectively to continue. I don't want to say the fight, because that sounds too aggressive, and one of the reasons why we have problems is because we are too violent. So I would say we are going to continue to influence the future, to create an opportunity to make the Mediterranean a model for the rest of the planet, in the same way as it was a model for development, in the same way as it was a model of democracy, in the same way as it was a model of prosperity, based on the incredibly rich waters that we have depleted. So I'm very grateful to all of you. I'm going to leave you now because I have to go to another event, but I just didn't want to lose the opportunity to yet again say thank you.
Well, thank you very much, André, for this inspiring and good setting of the tone for the meeting with all the friends that we have around, and what we have to show about the legacy of MAVA for the last 27 years. And I pass to Mercedes for an introduction as well.
Yeah, actually, it's going to be a quick introduction. So why we are gathering here today, I think that André really already explained it pretty well. So 27 years of legacy, it really created a huge network in the Mediterranean. And I think that it's today the moment that we can share the information, what we have gained, what are the challenges that this outcome action plan we're providing to the partners that were inside, what are the opportunities that it brought. And I think that it's what is gathering us today. So I will let you present, Luis, the different OAPs that we call them that way, and your turn. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mercedes. But let me just be polite for the time being and present our panel here. So we have representatives of each of some of the outcome action plans, and let me just say that this is the jargon we use. You will hear a lot during the session about OAP. This means Outcome Action Plan, which was the approach of MAVA for this last phase. But before going to that, let me then introduce the panel. So we have Teresa Zuna from Wetlands International, who is managing a project for the partnership of the Outcome Action Plan on river basins in the Mediterranean. Then we have Lorena Segura from Tour de Vala, and she's managing the partnership project for our outcome action plan on coastal wetlands. We have Oriane Petit, who is managing by Blue Seeds the outcome action plan on fisheries and sustainable fisheries in the Mediterranean. And finally, Engin Yilmaz from Yolda in Turkey, who is managing the outcome action plan on cultural landscapes and practices. So this is our brilliant panel. And let me then just explain a bit more what is the outcome action plan. I see lots of people around that are involved, so this is no news. It will be 5 minutes that you already know a lot, but let me say to the others, outcome action plan, how we did get there. So when we were closing and entering the final phase of MAVA, we would like to do several things at the same time. First, to have a good impact and to deliver on biodiversity and outcomes. Then we would like to gather our partnerships that had so good results in the last years, and to build even a stronger partnership, so we could we would have these partnerships even sustainable for the future, to stay longer than MAVA and to deliver more. And finally, to bring sustainability to all the process. So this began with a participatory process where traditional partners of MAVA got together and thought about what are the priorities for the Mediterranean, and what would be the main outcomes to deliver by the end of 2022, when MAVA is phasing out. So we called it the WAP approach. And recently we wrote a book where we present how these strategic partnerships were developed, and this WAP approach. So you have the cover here, and it is available in our website. So if you click on our website of MAVA Foundation, you'll get the book in the first page. So the objectives also was to strengthen these partnerships through the establishment of pilot sites that could show the results that are important as outcomes, and allow these pilot sites to show to other places and to the region in its whole how to replicate and scale up the results that we would like to achieve as main outcomes for the Mediterranean. So I will very quickly list these outcome action plans. In our jargon you will see a lot of numbers. All the participants will know very well that participate in the WAP. So, for example, hello? Yeah. Sorry. So the first outcome action plan, the first WAP, is about the integrated management of river basins in the region. And as you see, and it will happen in the other WAPs as well, we have some pilot sites that illustrate what we want to achieve at regional scale. So here we have in Portugal and Spain the river basin of Douro, we have the river basin of Cebu in Morocco, and we have Neretva in the West Balkans, but also the river of Vjosa, Albania, and Ahawas in Greece. So the same river with two different names according to the country. So this is an example, and the list of partners. So you can see that for each one of the WAPs there is a long list of partners working together, and that's what we are going also to explain today and to talk about. So the next WAP is about coastal wetlands. So you see that we have again some pilot sites, the delta of Buna Bojana in Montenegro and Albania, Oristano in Sardinia, and Jaramella in Tunisia. We have one fully dedicated to the Mediterranean Sea itself, to the sea, with the aim of reducing fishing impacts and pressures on marine habitats and species. That covers a wide area in the Mediterranean Sea. M6 is about promoting sustainable land use practices for protecting cultural landscapes as drivers of biodiversity in the region, where we have also several sites. Then I will tell the participants also to explain a bit better what they are doing in each one of the WAPs. So I'm just summarizing as much as possible this list of WAPs for you to see. There is one about reducing the mortality of birds, especially enhancing the conservation of the most threatened birds, especially vultures and raptors in the Mediterranean. And the protection, finally, the protection of sea turtle nesting sites in the Mediterranean. So this is just to illustrate what is our portfolio of outcome action plans for you. So after this, I think we can go for some questions for our panel. Should I start or you start? Yeah? You can start.
Okay. Does this work? Okay. So now you get an overall idea of what are the OAPs that MAVA has been developing in the last years. And but we want to hear about, what is the OAPs mean for the partners and the organizations that are inside and they're working every day inside those OAPs. So we have this first question that is, what do you think are the particularities of these OAPs? And what are what do they mean, these partnerships that are created? And this question is going to go to Engin. I work with him in M6, so please, Engin, go. You need the microphone.
Thank you. Well, today I had the chance to talk about our partnership AMNC Alliance for Mediterranean Nature and Culture, which was a result of the M6 WAP Outcome Action Plan. And I also had the opportunity to talk about the particularities. There are many particularities to have to work under a outcome action plan and with the partnerships created. And I'm going to give some examples which I find the most important. The first one is the strategical alignment, because instead of a portfolio of unrelated or loosely related conventional projects and partners, we had the opportunity to function within a strategically aligned membership, and each delivering on clear and prioritized outcomes captured in an outcome action plan and the theory of change. This led us to the second particularity, which is achieving impact at the scale that really matters. In order to implement conservation actions that are relevant at the scales beyond the capacity of single organizations, we had the chance to join our forces in many aspects to achieve those impacts we wanted to achieve at the pilot site level, but also at the regional level. Which is not limited by the capacity of a single organization or the history of a single organization, but instead it became much more relevant to the cultural landscapes and the practices and the ecosystems and species we seek to protect. One other major particularity was collective learning from successes and failures, and following that also adaptive management, because we have developed a common focus, aligned efforts, and defined a framework to usefully assess our impact, effectiveness, and progress. Our common theory of change with clear indicators, objectives, and the transparent framework enables our partnerships to capture evidence of impact. We have developed the opportunity to put our framework through tests and evaluate our collective progress and impact in depth with internal mechanisms. This enables our management to be adaptive and flexible. One other particularity is bridging the gap in knowledge and expertise, because partnerships also allowed us to access to a wider range of information and expertise. Partners bringing knowledge and experience that's one other partner may be lacking, or they may bring in complementary skills to help our collective impact to increase. And not to forget that with the diverse character of our partners representing different sites in the Mediterranean is also did also bring in the diversity of the local context they intervened. And the final one is I think it was really important in regard with the COVID-19 process, because it is the partnerships and the WAPs. It increased the efficiency of ours in terms of collective responses to such contextual changes, and it enabled us to ensure more effectiveness in our responses, because we all pool our collective weight by mobilizing our resources and sharing knowledge and expertise and developing joint actions against such contextual changes. As I said, this was also the case with COVID-19, because within the self-evaluation process of the partnership, according to the outcome action plan, we all had the opportunity to reflect on this crisis together and adapted our collective work accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well explained. And I agree. I think this type of OAP, the OAPs, they bring a lot of partners together. And it allows to scale up. I was just wondering if any other participants right now of the panel have something to add to what Engin just said.
Yeah, build on what Engin said, I would like to reflect. It creates a really open community. We can really share knowledge and feel open to share it, so without judgment. So this is very important, and it's very it's an essence of this community and these partnerships that we have.
Thank you. No,
Okay. I don't know if the others, Ariane, Lorena, nothing else on this topic, because otherwise we can go for the second question. So it was very good that Engin was showing the value of and the characteristics of the partnership and the WAPs. And also this brings some ground for opportunities and challenges. So I would ask Teresa, what are the opportunities and the main challenge of this WAP approach?
Thank you, Luis. And also I'd like to thank you to the MAVA Foundation for the invitation to be here. It's really a pleasure. Build on the challenges. I could name so many, but I think at the moment the partnership is focusing on one specific challenge that I think is crucial for the moment we are living in. We need to bring understanding to the society, into the governments and the economic drivers of the solutions we present and the solutions we bring to the issues that our Mediterranean is facing. And this is the challenge that I think we can address as well. And our partnership, we took a moment to reflect, to think about the work we've been doing throughout these years. And we really reached to the point that we need to adapt our strategy, and we decided that this is the moment to do that. And this adaptation we want to do is to invite other actors in the Mediterranean, to invite other organizations, and to work with other sectors that are not the traditional sectors that we usually work with. And this will bring awareness on the solutions we want to present and we want to work and implement in the Mediterranean, and they will be part of these solutions. So I also see it as an opportunity to diversify our partnerships and our work and the way we implement our activities. And this way we will achieve a greater impact within our partnership and the projects we implement throughout the Mediterranean. I would like to name two examples of these partnerships. Of my partnership in particular. We have, working as Luis just mentioned, we work in Cebu Basin. It's located in Morocco, and there with the local partners we establish a water fund, which is the local partners established with the government, with the local authorities, the local communities, and also the agriculture industry in the region. A fund where the downstream beneficiaries of this basin, they pay for conservation and restoration measures in the upstream basin. And this is proven that very efficient and is really working. So to have a multi-stakeholder approach, it's a new way of working and brings benefits, because the water fund is based on integrated water resource management. And through this, we are paying for ecosystem services and having water quality and improve the water supply in the region. Another very good example is the work we've been doing in the Mujib. Mujib is a small river basin in Jordan, and there we have the support from the government, and we are establishing a river basin approach as well. And as you know, Jordan is one of in the region is one of the water scarcest country. So this is very important that we could kick off such projects with the support of the government. So our projects have been showing that via multi-stakeholder approaches, bringing other type of partners that we usually don't work with, engage with the local communities are a way forward, and they will help us implementing the solutions we want to have in the Mediterranean region.
Thank you very much for these good examples, Teresa. I don't know if the others want to add something on the value and the opportunities and challenges. Engin?
In terms of challenges, I would like to mention the problem that we have in the Mediterranean, which is it's about contextual situation, economic and politics, and it does have an impact directly on the outcome action plan. So that's why we have to be really adaptive and flexible to develop joint responses to such uncertainties. But one opportunity that at least from our side as M6, as the Alliance for Mediterranean Nature and Culture, we learn a lot from the locals in terms of how they respond to uncertainties. So we are also trying to learn from them to develop such actions to these, as Andre said, the crisis of humanity along with the nature.
Thank you, Engin. And I'm just remembering that another opportunity that was raised in this was to find common opportunities of different WAPs.
Exactly.
So maybe Lorena can talk a bit about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to mention. So by working together, somehow separately with the M12, M13, M4, M5, etc., we found that there are also common things and that are important to take in account. So now we are working together, M1, M2 that is working for freshwater, with freshwater issues, with M3 that is working mostly with coastal wetlands. We found that it makes sense to work together because the water that comes from the river, it ends up in the deltas and at the sea. So it makes sense to work together. So we are, even if we have each one our own program and we are following different activities, some of our activities are common activities and they have more impact and it helps us to build a bigger community with which we can feel we can trust.
Yeah, no, stay with us because this question goes for you. Because actually you were saying some of the impacts that what we are saying, no? There's opportunities, challenges, but getting all these partners together, it brings opportunities and an impact. So my question goes to what are some of the major impacts and changes that this approach is bringing to all the partners that are inside? And yeah, not only in this partnership point of view, but again, how is this type of partnership bringing the scale-up opportunities? Up to you.
Thank you. So the impacts delivered by the different projects, I think they are better represented by what is happening at the pilot sites. So the pilot sites that are already that Luis already mentioned in the presentation. So those are areas in which the partners are conducting projects with the local people, and where they are establishing new relationships with the governments, with the financial sector, with the different stakeholders. So they are really trying to get in the place, analyzing what are the needs of the people being there, what are the also of the how we can achieve biodiversity conservation there and a sustainable development, and then they plan an action plan that is together with the different stakeholders are also engaging the decision maker to achieve restoration, conservation, and other sustainable practices. So those projects are rooted in analysis, learning, and exchange, with interventions via training in the site, but for wider application. So the partners are, at the same time as they are working in the sites, they are learning new skills, and they are getting implementation new tools that they can be used in another places, so they can be scaled up and used in another situations in the Mediterranean. And this is inclusion of local and a diversity of actors in the project it's really the key to achieve sustainability and to keep working in the long term with the different actors there. Particularly for the coastal wetland OAP, Outcome Action Plan, so that we are tackling water abstraction and also urbanization in the coast that are like the biggest problems. So the partners are also facing the lack of governance, the lack of interaction in between the different stakeholders in the place, and designing new methods to reach sustainability. So I can give also some examples as Teresa did it. So for example, in Oristano in Sardinia, they are implementing agroecological practices by using drones as a method to analyze how much water and how much fertilizers are needed by the cultures, and then so try to save as much as water and as much as fertilizer, etc. for the agriculture, so reducing the impact also on the environment. The Ulcic Salinas project, so this is in Montenegro. This is a place in Montenegro the partners are engaging the NGOs also to protect this area, and they are also finding like financial opportunities to for the people there. So mostly they are using or designing a sustainable use of medicinal plants and mud to give them opportunities while conserving this place. In the Buna area in Albania, they are creating different ecotourism methods to that the people can go to these places by respecting and conserving the environment. And there are many other projects, nature-based solution implementation, also to tackle vulnerability to the climate change impact that is happening in Gar el Mela, for example, in Tunisia, and also in Bahía de Cádiz in Spain. And all of these things can be facilitated by the partnership, because in the partnership we are building a platform of support to the different partners, a platform of exchange, and we are like communicating, exchanging, and trying to share all these tools that we have learning. And even more, for a greater impact, we are also partners with other bigger partnerships, as is the Mediterranean Alliance for Wetlands, in which we are joining another 20 organizations in the Mediterranean, and with which we can also share and exchange practices and make it everything in a bigger scale.
So thank you very much. I do agree. I think there are different types of impact at local level, and I was going to ask you, like, what do you think at the overarching? There's some different projects that are overarching, trying to get the projects that are working locally in order to exchange, and the partnership, you already mentioned it. So I think that's one of the keys, you know, that getting all these partners, creating this scaling up results, but not forgetting that some of the impact is happening locally again. So I think it's wonderful. Thank you. I don't know if any of the others want to add something. You? All right, so to you.
Okay, so we have a final block of questions. And you four are coordinating projects for strengthening the partnerships and ensuring the legacy of MAVA, but also your continuity in the future. So thinking about the post-MAVA when we phase out. So about that, how do you think you are contributing to the partnership sustainability and the carryover of MAVA's heritage, especially taking into account that we'll close in 2022? And I would take Oriane first to give us her ideas and experience.
Thank you.
And you have some slides, I believe, yeah?
I have to say I'm a bit nervous because I realized the MAVA report is older than me. And also I want to say I'm not the only coordinator. We are working with the IUCN Med present here on this topic. So to respond to your question, so about the sustainability. The main challenge is how do we continue to work together with the partners. So we try to foster the different dynamics. So first, to create a network, so to understand, so to all the partners to understand the role of everyone. So if you see here, we created a platform, and you can see we used the 5 strategies of the theory of change to everyone to understand its role to the overall outcome, to have a sense of the belonging. Then we foster the synergies, so we have strong internal communication to avoid duplication first, but also to improve the coherence, the synergies, and to amplify and duplicate the successful results we can find on the pilot sites. Then very important, and due to the IUCN Med, we raise a common voice. So there is a lot of fieldwork, experimentation, and we need a political and legal support. So together with common messages and coalition of different partners, the advocacy work is much more impactful. So here you can see the example of the platform we created in the M4-M5 partnership. So the name is Together for the Med, and we try to share information with project fact sheets to valorize success stories and videos, as you said, and also the goal is to focus on the subject, on the human part of the projects, and not only on the technical language we can find during the monitoring before, and to have a dynamic communication that we can also find within our Facebook group that is very informal and easy. So about the MAVA heritage, the main challenge is how to continue the conservation activities and to valorize the global impact. So here, to have long-lasting results, of course, we have to continue to fund the conservation activities, so to find new funders and maybe to write new projects together, like Jeff or Life or other projects, and to have a coalition of conservation activities to have a bigger impact. So to use what has been done with the MAVA support during the OAP. And also with the long-lasting results, it's crucial, as you say, to demonstrate the impact. So to have the relevance, the viability of the projects. So, for example, in the M4, M5 partnership, we are working on an impact report to demonstrate in a transversal analysis the impact that has been achieved within the topic. So, for example, a project and different projects are working on the bycatch, so to understand the impact of the bycatch across the Med, but also with a geographical scope. So, for example, there are many projects in Tunisia. It's just an example on mapping, endangered species monitoring, legal advocacy, bycatch also, so to understand on the pilot side what is the impact. It's when we have the impact clear, it's important to be clear in communicating the impacts too, so to valorize and to make visible the results, in order to communicate clearly to the new donors. So, for example, we have a great impact with the co-management MPA project that gather all the partners working on MPAs around the Med with the objective of efficiency and no-take zone. And yes, and also the bycatch project that created a standardized methodology to assess the bycatch and that have been used by different projects across the Med. So to conclude, I want to say that the OAPs have enabled the partners to get to know each other better, to work together and to support and enrich each other. I think it's a powerful group that can develop further strategies, and together is stronger than alone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oriane. I think this is crucial, this point, because as we were saying in the beginning of the session, we are talking about legacy, and legacy is not only the results of all the projects and all the work of all the organizations, but is also leaving behind the community of organizations and people that can continue the work towards the conservation of the Mediterranean and its biodiversity. So one crucial question, and I would maybe address this to you, but also to the other people that work in the WAPs in the audience, that I see some of them, which is, where do you see yourself in the next years? So we are not far from the end of 2022 when MAVA is closing. How do you see yourselves in 1, 2, 3 or 5 or 10 years according to the partnerships that you just have created and what you expect to do? Who wants to start? Engin.
Well, let me start first with the challenges. All these questions were linked to each other. They are really linked. And at least with our partnership outcome action plan, the story started back in 2012. It was again MAVA who facilitated and catalyzed the process to gather all these organizations together towards a common goal. And when this happened in 2017 to be framed under an outcome action plan, it was also a challenge because this is not just a simple network of project partners coming together and doing unrelated projects. This was a real strategic alignment, and it took a lot of time to get to the point where we are together right now today. And spending all that time to deal with all these diverse character of partners and individuals as well, I'm really happy about the position that we are in right now, because we established the basis within a strategy in terms of looking to the future, because we already have the tools thanks to the approach, thanks to the theory of change, and thanks to the capacity and the funding that MAVA provided. We are ready to survive beyond 2022 and even get more resilient as a community of partners.
I don't know. Yeah, you want?
So for the M4, M5, I cannot respond because we are only coordinator, of course. But I think in fisheries there are many challenges because it's a challenging topic, of course. And it depends on what common objective we can find together. So, for example, responding to new projects could be a response. But also we began a consultation for the partners to know how they see the future and what could be interesting for them and what could be the financial sustainability also of animating the network after the MAVA. And we had very positive responses on that question, so it's very encouraging, but we will see.
I think as we have built like all our partnership projects with a vision for the future, I can see just like that we are continuing working for our goals and that we are continuing to evaluate what we have, what we are doing, that we are using all these tools and skills that we have learned together thanks to the structure of these OAPs and of the work what we do with MAVA. And I think we are just going like further working together, keeping working together between our M1, M2, M3, the Mediterranean Alliance for Wetlands, making projects probably in between us. So I think the big community keep in contact and that we are just like keeping this good... Oh, no battery. Keeping this pathway.
Well, after all this, it's difficult to add something constructive. But basically, my words are what they just said, my colleagues here. But I also would like to say that the partners are very committed to continue to work. So we really want to build and continue building these partnerships and making the synergies, finding synergies through the partnerships.
Yeah, I don't know if other participants of the WAPs and others, yeah? Let me give the microphone to Nizar.
Thank you, Louis. I agree totally of what they are explaining and suggesting. I will start from what Engen finished. The partnership is there. We are trying our best to shape this partnership in a very practical way to continue after 2022. But I would like to add, MAVA supported us as individual organizations as well and built our capacities for a very, very, very long time to be able to sustain the work after 2022. I think the work that has been done on the individual level as a partners and the maturity of the experience that grows with all of us together, mainly I'm talking about the M6. Now, really we are thinking in a very practical way. Our landscape should be a profitable landscape for everyone, for the stakeholders, for the communities, for the landowners, as well as for the partners and the implementers. We learned in this period of time how to be flexible, as MAVA was very flexible with all the partners and creating this huge range of partnership. We learned how to be flexible and how to trust each other as partners as well as partner on the local level and the stakeholders on the local level. As well, we learned in this long time how to be adaptive and how to, as we need to be more resilient to climate change, we have to be more resilient to other challenges as well. And the sustainability is a main challenge. I think with all these factors, we should be able to continue this wonderful momentum, because this experience shouldn't be stopped in 2022. I think all of us, we did a big difference in the whole Mediterranean region. As I heard from André, he's from maybe older generation, the whole work has been improved in the whole environmental movement in the Mediterranean region. And I think as MAVA partners, we are the heroes and the champions of this new momentum of Mediterranean conservation on the landscape level, on the wetland level, on the marine level, and so on. So hopefully this momentum will continue after 2022 on all levels.
Thank you very much, Nizar. And I have also Boris Erk from IUCN ECARO asking for...
Yeah, thanks, Luis, very much. Yeah, so I'm Boris Erk from IUCN East Europe and Central Asia, so I'm kind of a friend from the East. Well, I mean, a lot's been said here. I mean, if you ask me where I see myself in 10 plus years, I might be retired. I mean, who knows, yeah? I'm a little bit older than the MAVA family, which is also good. But I would say that, I mean, lots of good things have been said. For this MAVA partnership, it really was creating this joint space, you know. It's a very kind of cultivating this partnership and this collaborative spirit in a different way than others would do, you know. That we can all invest in what we all love so much. That's the Mediterranean. Allow organizations and individuals to grow and evolve and flourish. Yeah? For me, impacts are obvious at all levels. You know, this a network level, which is obvious because of all these good networks that have been created. So there is a seed of sustainability in that, and long-term perspective. Already mentioned, you invested in organizational development, which is just great thing. So there is lots of a strengthened organization that can work across the Mediterranean. And certainly then impacted at site-based level. I mean, no need to mention. So one of the sites where we work is Vjosa. Vjosa was today, I don't know if you heard, Vjosa was today at One Planet Summit on main stage. Vjosa was mentioned. So, 5+ years, very few people knew what Vjosa is. There should be a few pictures and maybe local communities. Now Vjosa is all over the place. It's not just about Vjosa. It's also about this knock-on effect, creating that momentum and building that community of water defenders across the Balkans, if you wish. So, that seed was planted by MAVA. And as far as going forward, I see a need for investing in these partnerships, to strengthen those partnerships in the next year plus. Ensure that there is a really, really clear impact at site level for communities, because then they will be carrying forward that good work of MAVA. And of course, keep mobilizing resources that can support initiative. And just last not least, I think that the biggest assets are people. And all these people who are there, actually, that's the greatest legacy of MAVA. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I think we have one maybe intervention. Is there somebody there that wants to add something? Maybe on opportunities, challenges, impact, and of course, what would happen in the next 10 years? Yeah, Alexis. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm Alexis Katsaros from Medina, Greece. What I see is that this OAP experience started 5 years ago, and already we have a new generation joining. So what I'm hoping for is that this partnership, not only the outcome, but the whole partnership grows up and more people are joining, and the impact that all this group has gets bigger and bigger. I would like to see in 10 years something concrete happening from this group, and I believe that we will see it.
Thank you very much, Alexi. I'm with you. I do believe that too. So I'll just pass with Luis. Thank you very much for being here today with us. And yeah.
Well, I don't know if there are some other questions. I see some WAP participants, but if you have any other question to us or to the panel, we still have time for one, maybe. Not really. So let me just conclude saying that it was very good to have 4 coordinators of projects that are looking for the sustainability of partnerships myself being since the beginning in this creation of the outcome action plans, I'm really impressed with the partners getting together and organizing themselves, building their vision for the future, finding their way to continue the work they are doing now, and even finding new objectives and new ways to go forward, and looking also for funds. And this is also a crucial thing, of course, to fundraise and to keep going for building these activities. But as some participants said in the beginning of this process, rather than competing for funds, is collaborating with funds that they can find together that will make the difference. So it's very important, and we hope that all this effort from us and from all the partners to continue this WAP approach and this partnership can really pay off in the future. So thank you very much for this. It was a great session. Thank you to the panel for coming, and for all of you. And next we have some moment you can also you can stay, and we have some time to stay together and celebrate these activities and all the results we have together. And feel free to stay around. I don't know if you want to. Yeah, later you say some words. So feel free now to stay to grab some food, some drinks, and we stay together also for some more exchanges about the WAPs and all these partnerships. Thank you very much.